Philomela, Voice to the Voiceless. Chapter 0. The Fool. I rise up from this toilet to liberate all the women's. I try to send this text to Cleopatra, one of my best friends. The message will not go through. Most likely a problem with the cell phone signal where I am out in the country, except I had been able to text her all night, but now it's being ornery. An alert pops up. Try again. No, I think, that is how I wanted it. Grammatical incorrectness and all. I wrote what I meant, so send what I wrote. I tried changing it to women, amused that the universe seems to be playing with me. It still will not send. I try a few more times. Then I decisively change it back to women's, and think intently at my phone that I want it that way, and I'm not going to change it back. The text goes through. Later, Cleopatra told me that this should be the first sentence of my book. She is a wise woman, so I decided to listen to her and start writing it. You have to start somewhere. I rise up from this toilet to liberate all the women's hearts, minds, bodies, souls, voices, strength, and laughter. I'd like to liberate all the men's, too. All the men's kindness, empathy, gentleness, sensitivity, consideration, vulnerability, and childlike innocence. To help them see that they do not need to harm, that they should nurture, just like the women. I want the women to realize that they deserve all the power men do, and the men to realize that they deserve to possess all the same tenderness women more typically have. Women need the right to act. Men need the right to feel. If women do not act and men do not feel, our species will die. That is my central manifesto. It takes me a while to get off the toilet. I have been wrestling with the feeling that I have to pee, sitting there trying to, not getting anything out, but still experiencing an urgency. I have been seated for about 20 minutes, and much has transpired in that time. I am coming down from mushrooms. My dear friend Penthesilea, the fierce Amazon warrior queen, and I went down the rabbit hole together last night. About 30 minutes after I ate 5 grams in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I was looking out at the driveway when I noticed a strange optical illusion. I could see what looked like a black woman's body lying on the ground, the green shape of her curves as if a dress, a dark blurry face, twisted as if in a painful death, and growing from her middle, beautiful, brilliant red, blue, and yellow flowers. The blossoms shone with an unearthly light, and that was when I knew that the veil had parted. It revealed to me my first poignant symbol of the evening. In an instant, I saw countless awe-inspiring contributions to life and culture that had come from Black people, and the immense suffering from which their strength and vibrancy had grown. Just like the flowers rising from her decomposing body, it was tragic. When I blinked, I realized that I had just seen a charred log from a recent campfire, not a woman's face, and her body was just a patch of grass, contrasting with the gravel around it. But I could not shake the image. I was about to enter into the world behind the world, where magic is real and nature speaks to me. Realizing that the trip was starting, I instinctively ventured out of the driveway and toward the grass. I wanted to be closer to where it was green. There were a million points of white clover, blazing like fairy torches. Each orb was a being, wishing me well. Each orb was pure love. Penthesilea said that she was tired of this nature shit. She wanted to play baseball. I had never played much. I wanted to, but my mother Juno had gotten her 2 front teeth knocked out accidentally with a baseball while walking through a park when she was a little girl, and she was protective of my teeth as a result. There were boys and a tomboy girl, how I envied her freedom, on my street when I was young, who played baseball in the big red dirt lot that was the front yard of my duplex. I always wanted to join them, but I just watched from the porch because I wasn't allowed. I explained this to Penthesilea, embarrassed, afraid she would judge me for not being athletic. It occurred to me that I had always felt different, separate from other girls, not quite the same as them. I was never on a baseball team, something that simple. I asked her if she would teach me how to play. We walked to a net that we could throw balls into for practice, and as the medicine took hold, she patiently taught me to throw and catch a softball. I felt like a little girl. Shrooms always bring out my inner child. It was a welcome, wholesome, Girl Scout summer camp kind of hallucinating. We threw the ball back and forth, and as I did it, caught it, successfully threw it to her, even if there were 80 of it, I felt my confidence growing. I lost some self-consciousness. I realized we were the same inside, she and I, just girls, and I was just as entitled as anyone to throw a baseball. I had bought a tub of pearlescent green birthday cake scented slime from the Dollar General store on my way over, thinking it would lend some messy fun to the experience. I remembered it in the nick of time, and we decided to throw the slime at each other. This was not as easy as we thought it would be. It was difficult to throw, harder to catch, and did not go where you wanted it to, or expected it would. My first earnest throw plopped to the ground right in front of my feet, making us laugh until we couldn't breathe, just how bad my throw was. We had stripped down to our underwear and bras before we began, to avoid staining our clothes, and it was not long before we were covered in slime. It felt cool and sticky on our skin. We could not stop giggling. The giggles had taken over completely. The slime had taken on a cosmic luminosity, rippling and twisting and stretching to spread everywhere. We decided to make universes out of it. We held the slime up to a bare light bulb, admiring its tones and hues. She named her universe Alvin. I named mine Gloob. We were giggling goddesses making universes, free and easy. Then I dropped Gloob, so she gave me some Alvin. Then she dropped Alvin, so I gave her some Gloob. It dawned on me that we were the same, she and I, as were our universes. They were made of the same stuff, as were we. There was no separation between us. Alvin was Gloob, was she, was me. It was silly, just children's slime, but it brought a profound awareness. We pranked her husband Kieran by smearing some slime on the door handle of his car, so that he would stick his hand in it in the morning when he was half asleep. We put our clothes back on and went to the trampoline, where we laid on our backs watching the full moon and sharing the juice box, as we named her vaporizer. The trip peaked with the moon turning into the brightest glowing ball I had ever seen, coming toward me slowly like a baseball, letting me know it was there, it cared, it saw me. We howled at the moon and cackled like witches. Later I sat propped up in a bed with many fat, fluffy pillows, coloring a Lisa Frank fortune-teller pig with many glittery pens and markers. She was magnificent, and I was in a zone for hours, thinking deep thoughts that maybe weren't so deep, as I chose the colors for my pig. She was purple, with a lovely green and gold dress. She was me. I was a smart, happy little clairvoyant pig, until I wound up on the goddamn toilet. As I was sitting there, struggling to pee, Cleopatra sent me a video to watch. It was the song Id Engager from the band of Montreal. They had been a favorite of my recent ex Hades. He had sent me their songs a few times. It cut me to the quick, just like that, the thought of him. She didn't know he liked them, just thought it was a cool video, which it was. The animations were striking and unique. I watched it on the toilet. I don't want to be your man, I just want to play with you, went the lyrics. It was as if Hades had appeared, just dropped right into the trip, like an unwelcome visitor, strolling through, as the little dark-haired cartoon man who vaguely resembled him hid from the many-eyed woman seeking him in a tea kettle, all sorts of evasive maneuvers. It occurred to me that this summed up the problem with Hades. He had not been willing to really be with me. He had just wanted to toy with me. The final frame of the video was a handwritten "The End" in pencil. I realized that it was indeed the end, and time to let him go, as he was no longer worthy of renting space in my head. It was time to get on to the next thing, to write my book. I let him go, finally peed, and flushed the toilet. It was time to piss and get off the pot. Then I rose up to liberate the women's. Before the trip, I drew a tarot card. I pulled the Fool. Later, I realized it made perfect sense. Penthesilea and I had returned to our child selves, starting out on our journeys anew. This innocent, playful state was the jumping-off place for this book. In the morning, all the slime in the driveway and on Kieran's door handle had evaporated, vanished without a trace. It was as if the night before never happened. We wondered aloud if we dreamed it all. You are shown incredible things, and then you must question what of it was real and significant. I will never forget that night, being just a kid, throwing a baseball with her friend. It healed my heart. From there to making universes, and being personally recognized by the moon, who filled me with her glowing white light made of love. The moon is one of my best friends as well. She stays with me, even when she wanes.